study the population, we use the sample. Sample is a part of population. For example, this is the population, and to study the population, we use samples. Sample is used to save time, money, and effort.
Sampling is a statistical procedure that is concerned in selecting the respondents from the population as a whole and includes all items and characteristics into a study.
There are two types of sampling, random sampling and non-random sampling.
Random sampling, also known as probability sampling, is a type of selecting our sample. It gives the respondents an equal opportunity to be chosen into the study, while non-random sampling, also known as non-probability sampling, is a sampling technique in which the researcher selects samples based on the subjective judgments of the researcher rather than random selection. There are four kinds of random sampling, namely simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, cluster sampling, and systematic sampling. And there are two types of non-random sampling, the purposive sampling and the convenient sampling.
What is simple random sampling? A simple random sampling is a subset of a statistical population in which each member of the subset has an equal probability of being chosen. A simple random sampling is meant to be an unbiased representation of a group. An example of a simple random sampling would be the names of 10 employees being chosen out of a hat from a company of 100 employees. In this case, the population is all 100 employees, and the sample is random because each employee has an equal chance of being chosen. Random sampling is used in science to conduct randomized control tests or for blind experiments.
Stratified random sampling is a method of sampling that involves the division of a population into smaller subgroups known as strata. In stratified random sampling or stratification, the strata are formed based on members' shared attributes or characteristics such as income or educational attainment. For example, consider an academic researcher who would like to know the number of CEU students in 2018 who receive a job offer within 3 months of graduation. He will soon find that there were almost 1,000 CEU students for the year. He might decide to just take a simple random sample of 500 graduates and run a survey. Better still, he could divide the population into strata and take a random sample from the strata. To do this, he would create population groups based on gender, age, range, race, country of nationality, and career background. A random sample from each stratum is taken a number proportional to the stratum size when compared to the population. These subsets of the strata are then grouped to form a random sample. Slovin's formula is used to calculate the sample size given the population size and the margin of error. It is a random sampling technique formula to estimate sampling size. For example, you want to find out the sample of a population of 1,000 people that you need to take for a survey under SOLA preferences, with a margin of error of 5%. Substituting our given values to our formula will generate this. Sample is equal to 1,000 over 1 plus 1,000 times 0.05. Solving the equation will give us 285.714. You need to round up the answer since you can't sample a fraction of a people, so our final answer will be 286.
Cluster sampling refers to a type of sampling method. With cluster sampling, the researcher divides the population into separate groups, called clusters. Then, a simple random sample of clusters is selected from the population. The researcher conducts his analysis on data from the sampled clusters. Compared to simple random sampling and stratified sampling, cluster sampling has advantages and disadvantages. For example, given equal sample sizes, cluster sampling usually provides less precision than either simple random sampling or stratified sampling. On the other hand, if travel costs between clusters are high, Cluster sampling may be more cost-effective than the other methods.
What is a systematic sampling? Systematic sampling is a type of probability sampling method in which sample members from a larger population are selected according to a random starting point but with a fixed periodic interval. This interval, called the sampling interval, is calculated by dividing the population size by the desired sample size. For instance, if a local NGO is seeking to form a systematic sample of 500 volunteers from a population of 5,000, they can select every 20th person in the population to systematically form a sample.
Purposive sampling, also known as judgmental, selective, or subjective sampling, is a form of non-probability sampling in which researchers rely on their own judgment when choosing members of the population to participate in their study. This sampling method requires researchers to have a prior knowledge about the purpose of their study so that they can properly choose and approach eligible participants. Researchers use purposive sampling when they want to access a particular subset of a people, as all participants of all study are selected because they fit a particular profile. For example, you want to know what are the famous delicacies in Manila. So to get more appropriate answers, you can ask the food vendors since they are the one knowledgeable Manila's delicacy. In this case, you are using the purposive sampling because you are focusing on the respondents that are appropriate to your study.
Convenience sampling. Convenience sampling is also called availability sampling. It is a non-probability or non-random sampling technique used to create sample as per ease of access, readiness to be a part of the sample, availability at a given time slot, or any other practical specifications of a particular element. The researcher chooses members merely on the basis of proximity and doesn't consider whether they represent the entire population or not. Using this technique, they can observe habits, opinions, and viewpoints in the easiest possible manner. An example of using this method is when a researcher is studying about the effects of sleep deprivation among the students and he interviewed the respondents that are easy to reach and approach. It can either be his friend or classmate.